Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Kirby Smart, the Georgia Bulldogs, getting extremely aggressive in the transfer portal, landing their second transfer portal commitment of the day in former Texas A&M wide receiver Noah Thomas. If you're a Georgia Bulldogs fan, you have to be fired up about what this staff is doing early in the offseason to address the problems you saw on this roster in 2024. I don't think it's crazy to make the argument that the lack of difference makers on the outside at the pass catcher position, to me, cost Georgia a chance to compete for national championship. There were a lot of parts about this Georgia football team that you liked a lot. One problem we saw pretty much all year was you're not good enough on the outside. And I think the beauty of this era of college football is, hey, if you have a position group that you want to address, you can do it immediately in the transfer portal. Go back 10 years ago. If you had a problem at the wide receiver spot, well, you had to recruit them out of high school ranks. You had to get them into the program. You had to develop them. It would take a couple of seasons to kind of get a position group right. You don't have to take that long in this era of college football. And you look at this Georgia team and say that there were a lot of really good aspects about this Georgia team in the 2024 season. This is not a program that needs a complete personnel overhaul. I mean, I think it's crazy to think, all right, what if you just injected Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch onto this Georgia team in 2024? How would we be talking about them? Well, we'd probably be previewing them playing Penn State in the college football semifinals. These are additions that immediately make this team better in 2025. And you look at Noah Thomas, this is a kind of wide receiver that Georgia has lacked from time to time. That true big bodied boundary wide receiver that can win vertically down the field, that can make plays with the football in the air. And I think what I love most about Noah Thomas is, look, a lot of the transfer portal additions that we talk about are, fifth years, 6 years at times, guys that you kind of know what they are when you get them out of the transfer portal. A guy like Noah Thomas, although going into year 4, though a little bit of an older player, this is a guy that has continued to get better during his time at Texas A&M. Was largely a non-factor as a freshman, took a step in 2023, and really took a big step in 2024. And I don't think it's crazy to see this kid take another step in 2025 because God gifted this kid with a lot of physical traits, a lot of special physical traits as a wide receiver. He's a 3-sport athlete coming out of high school. He's 6'6", 200 pounds, really impressive body control for that size. He knows how to use his frame when that football is in the air. It's just a kind of wide receiver that Georgia didn't have this year, and now they're going to have it in 2025. And then you get Zachariah Branch, who kind of completely balances Noah Thomas out. Noah Thomas, not as much of a yards after the catch guy, more of, hey, I'm going to stretch the field vertically. I'm going to be a wide receiver that safeties have to respect. Well, guess what? You're opening up that middle of the field for one of the more electric players that you see in all of college football, Zachariah Branch, to get a little bit more space. When you have a guy like Noah Thomas, that teams have to respect what he can do vertically, well, now you're creating a lot of space for Zachariah Branch to work underneath and really be dangerous. And when you have Zachariah Branch the football in space, good things are going to happen. You got difference makers on the outside. That's just not what Georgia had in 2024. Now, I want to take a look at what this wide receiver room is going to look like for Georgia in 2025. In my opinion, there's going to be a lot of new faces. Before we get into it, as always, to the Georgia fans, it's been a blast talking this team. Yeah, the amount of support y'all continue to show to the fellas, it means the absolute world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. It might not be the last couple commitments that we're breaking down because it sounds like Kirby Smart has some things that he wants to address with this football team. Now, without further ado, quick summary of Noah Thomas, at least from my point of view. I've watched a lot of Texas A&M football. The one thing that jumps out to me is the target share. This is something I look for wide receivers is, hey, what's your target share? I mean, he had 72 targets for Texas A&M in 2024. That was 20 more than any other pass catcher on Texas A&M in the 2024 year. What does that tell me just looking at the numbers? This was the guy for Texas A&M in 2024. This was the wide receiver one. This was the guy that they wanted to get the opportunities to. So that bodes well in terms of what you're getting for Noah Thomas. Really good at the catch point. Sneaky yards after the catch guy. He's not as electric as Zachariah Branch as you would expect. He's nearly 7, 8, almost 9 inches taller than Zachariah Branch. This is a guy that can work vertically yards after the catch. And again, I like how Noah Thomas's skill set balances out what Zachariah Branch brings. That's something important. You want your wide receivers who can excel at different things. That's what you're getting with Zachariah Branch and Noah Thomas. And then you start playing around with, what this wide receiver room looks like. And I would love to hear from the Georgia fans in the comment section. To me, Noah Thomas is the wide receiver one. Now, I think he's the guy that probably gets the most targets. I think he's going to be the guy that does the most damage vertically down the field. Wide receiver two to me, probably Zachariah Branch. Again, with Zachariah Branch, we talked about it Sunday. There's a lot of steps that can take place for Zachariah Branch. He's a difference maker right now, just purely with the football in his hands. There is some progression that I think Zachariah Branch can have as a pure wide receiver. And if he takes those steps, there's a very good shot Zachariah Branch is wide receiver one for this team. And then you look at some other names. I don't think you're going to see a lot of the names that we saw in 2024. I look at Nitro Tuggle. It's hard to see him not be at, quite frankly, probably should have been on the football field more as a true freshman. I think he's definitely going to get an expanded role in 2025. Then you look at some of the young cats. CJ Wiley coming in as a true freshman. That kid is built to step on an SEC football field and produce year one. Taylor Taylor, I'd probably say the same thing for. Then you have guys like London Humphreys who, look, London Humphreys was only a sophomore this year. He's only going into year two in the Georgia offense. Like, there are some steps from guys like London Humphreys that I think you could see them taking. I think the problem last year with Georgia is that, look, Arian Smith, we kind of knew what he was. He's been on Georgia for a very long time. He's been that speedster, but that's just about it. You look at Dominic Lovett, wasn't really the wide receiver that we expected him to be coming from Missouri. He didn't really see that step getting taken. I think a lot of these guys that we're talking about now are either newcomers to the program, Noah Thomas, Zachariah Branch, or guys that are kind of getting developed in the pipeline, guys that we can reasonably expect to get better going into 2025. I don't think you could say that about a guy like Arian Smith. Look, we knew what Arian Smith was. I don't think it should have been that surprising to, and I'm not trying to drag Arian Smith. That was not the purpose of this, but we kind of knew Arian Smith was limited as an all-around wide receiver. We knew he was really damn fast, and we knew he can work vertically down the field. That was kind of about it. We kind of knew what to expect. I think what's exciting about this wide receiver room now is you got some newcomers coming in who we know. Again, what excites me about Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch, we know they're good football players. I think there's another level both of them can reach in 2025. And then you got some young guys kind of developing. And the biggest thing for me is, look, Georgia was not as far off as the national media will tell you. If you put these guys on this Georgia roster in the playoffs, Noah Thomas, Zachariah Branch, again, I think we're talking about Georgia playing Penn State for a chance to play in the national championship. Really big pickup for Georgia. These are difference maker guys that make them better at the positions they needed to get better at. And that's the goal of the transfer portal. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.